going on, G1s? Tom the Iron Man here, back with another TexaVlog. It's the final day of the Texas shindig, and it was a very, very lax, casual day. Started waking up around 8:30 was when the alarm went out. 9 o'clock is when we finally rousted ourselves out of bed. Nothing on the schedule until 5 in the afternoon, so it was a chance for us to take everything as we needed to see fit and take our time. Like I said, you know, a little easy going getting out of bed, you know, not having to get up at the crack of 9. Well, actually, the death battle panel was at 9, so it actually was crack of 8. But still, it was, I'm not used to this kind of stuff when you go to events, you know, having so little programming to choose from, that being able to sleep in at a convention is a foreign concept to me. MagFest had something going on, you know, for me in most instances from the moment I woke up to the moment I decided, not needed to, but decided to go to bed. So that's, like I said, a little weird, you know, but it gave us time to regroup and recover and do other bunch of housekeeping things that we needed to do. For instance, Shelby had taken a ton of pictures during the Fatal 4-Way of Kinda Funny versus Mega 64 versus Screw Attack versus Game Attack. A ton of pictures. And she also had pictures from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and Mario Party Saturday. And so far, Shelby has the only known pictures of Greg Miller and Sean Boland boning on stage. Not literally. It was just they got a little crazy like they do. Which actually segues into a funny story about Greg Miller in a hot second. So she needed to get those pictures backed up and localized, and we were able to do so. And then we finally were able to put to the test as to whether the Wi-Fi in the hotel room was free, and I was able to successfully back them up to my OneDrive as well. So we were able to get the pictures that Boland needed to see, was able to back them up in multiple places. Everything's all hunky-dory, so that's fantastic. It also gave me an opportunity to go ahead and offload all of my video from the previous day, and I had a bit of a scary moment. When we were trying to transfer the photos, getting them off Shelby's camera was easy. It was just an SD card. Just plug it in the reader and you're off to the races. But the part that was really scary was I was moving stuff from my SD card onto the computer. While I was doing that, I was trying to transfer stuff off of the hard drive of the computer to Shelby's phone, which is an Android-based phone. And if you have an Android phone, you plug it into the computer, it's seen as a removable drive. You know, just drag and drop and you're off to the races. Well, the damn thing froze. Windows had to restart itself. You know, like when Explorer EXE has stopped working and I rebooted that, I lost everything that I was doing my transfer. So I thought I lost all of my panel footage that I had recorded. I thought I lost the Mario Party Saturday in its entirety. Thank God that wasn't the case. But that was a very, very scary moment. And it's not her fault. There's no way she could have known that my computer was going to spaz out and do something like that. So, thankfully, nothing ill came of it. But that was a noteworthy and very frightening moment. Because I record this stuff to share with you people back home. And if you can't watch it, then what the hell am I doing here, you know? Spending almost $2,000 on just sitting around in a chair. If I'm going to spend that much money sitting in a chair, I better buy a shit ton of video games. You know what I'm saying? That just doesn't make any sense. So, we got everything backed up, and it was, at this point, I had showered and dressed, and it was time for lunch. You know, it was getting on towards 12 o'clock. And we had been trying, goddammit, to get food at The Onion, the pizzeria that's 3 blocks up the street. Pizza's good. And it's available by the slice and by the box. And we had some, I at least once had it by the slice last year and had one whole pizza box split with Tony and John from Hard for Games when they were down here for SGC. So we went up there, walked in, and the damn thing's closed. And this is the thing that I've learned about businesses in downtown Austin. Not many of them are open past a certain hour, and some of them aren't even open on the weekend. Because apparently there isn't very many residencies actually in Austin proper. They're all commuting to the city. They don't actually live in the city. I guess it's not that big of a town from a residential standpoint. So the Onion closes when they have to go out on delivery, and they close on Sundays or something. I don't know. It was just very frustrating. So I've officially given up trying to get any pizza from them in my time here because I have to go back to Dallas tomorrow, and I'm not going to sit around and do that. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But what was there that I didn't get to eat at last year was the Taco Shack, which is a place that is open from 6:30 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and then 7 to 1:30 on Saturday and Sunday, and then on Saturday and Sunday they only serve breakfast. So we walk in there, and right off the bat, Shelby says, "Get the burrito, get the breakfast burrito. The thing's baller. It's great. Get it." So I go to order it. Guess what? They're out of burritos. Are you kidding me? Your marquee item. Never mind the fact that it's called the fucking Taco Shack, but like the one thing that everybody's talking about at that place is the breakfast burrito, and you're out of it. Whatever, man. So I ended up getting the El Nino taco on a flour tortilla, which consists of chorizo, jalapeno, diced tomato, and egg, and it was pretty good. Got 2 of them because I'm a hungry fat fuck. Well, not as fat, but you know, I'm getting there. But it was, you know, when I go and place an order like that, I intend to not eat for the rest of the day, and I almost was successful. Pardon me. So, go ahead, had breakfast, had the El Nino. Shelby had breakfast tacos as well. Then Vinny and Lexi was there as well. They joined us. Everybody had their fill of everything, and that was cool. We go ahead and ate stuff up, and then it was time to make our way over to the ACC. Oh, I almost forgot. Yeah, Shelby was playing errand, and she had to go over to PF Chang's to pick up carry out for the screw attack guy. So that's actually how we ended up outside first, because she's been their personal assistant the entire time, and had food cards, and we had to go and run over and get food for the screw attack guys because they were ordering PF Chang's, and they were being very frugal with their money. Word on the street is the Game Attack guys blew through their budget pretty quickly, but whatever. You know, live large while you can, I guess. If you got it, why don't you spend it? So, but just remember to help and respect and give proper credit where credit's due to your personal assistants when they are there for you, because boy did she bust her ass this weekend. More on that in a second. So that's actually how we ended up outside to go to Taco Shack in the first place. I completely forgot. You know, we just didn't go right over. There was an intermediary section that helped us cross that bridge. So then it was time to get to the ACC, and by this point it was 1:30, 2 o'clock, and again, walked the floor just to make sure, am I missing something? Is there something that I'm not connecting? And it was all t-shirts, prints, tchotchkes, and stuff, and just Game Over video games, man, is the only table selling video games. And I was just like, you know what? I'm not feeling it, you know? I mean, like, they brought their stuff. It's stuff that I already have. I didn't get that copy of Hybrid Heaven. It was one of those things that, like, you're going to get it because it's there and not because you want it. And even though I've got the old N64 modded for RGB, you know, I mean, if I'm going to get Hybrid Heaven, I may as well just track down a boxed copy and just call it a day. It's like it's, you know, I was going to get it just because it's there, but that's $10 that I could easily spend something else. And that really tells you something about your budgetary concerns and where you are in your video game world. I don't have a video game collection as much as I have a video game library, and everything I buy I intend to play. And it's not just gonna, I never hope that I buy something and it sits on a shelf and collects dust. I don't ever want that to happen, because I'm not giving the game credit, and I'm not giving the people who made that game, you know, their due when it comes down to do that kind of stuff. So walked around, couldn't find anything, and then it was time to go back and play some Third Strike, because I do want to play time on that while I can. And it's it was Arcades for Home's machine. It wasn't the office's Third Strike cab, but you know, even then it still had the bat handles instead of the ball handle joysticks, and I actually like hurt the joint on the part of my, like, right here, and that's where like my left hand sits, and like the joystick sits right underneath here, and I hurt this bastard. I fucked this thing up. I don't know what it is, but I cannot put a lot of pressure on there, and that's really it's really cramped my style. I'll tell you what, you know, I don't really have so much a range of movement as a problem as it is. It just hurts the son of a gun whenever I flex it, so that's kind of annoying. But you know, you persevere, you power through, and you play some games, and you put on the best matches that you possibly can. And I got a good couple of wins in. And then Chad came by and proceeded to clean house on everybody. You know, he made the joke, you know, go ahead and when he had to leave for his panel on Friday, he had to go like have an interview with Sam with IGN. Turns out this thing for IGN was being filmed for Disney XD. I don't know if it's going to make the cut or not, because this is Sam and Chad we're talking about. But he jokingly said, go ahead and beat Oro here. It's the only time you're going to see him lose all weekend. And not necessarily untrue. You know, he lapped the line until it was time to go to the Screw Attack autograph panel. So he had to go. He has obligations. He is the face of the company now. So, you know, he's got to be places. And around that time, that's when I got a hot DM from Vinny saying that people were already lining up for the Game Attack panel. I was like, well, shoot. Got to be there and supportive for Craig and Bolin, and that was the only thing I really cared and wanted to see that day. So, you know, that's we went ahead and got in line, and thankfully we were able to go ahead and squeeze our way into the front fourth of that line, and it was okay. It was a little weird though, because the seating wasn't any different than any other panel that I had been to, but they were bringing people in groups of 5 and 6 at a time. And if there was concern about filling out a row, they would ask for a single, and you would put your hand up real fast, and then they would call on you, and then you would fill that spot. So they had called for 6, and then they asked for a signal, and my hand shot up. And because I wanted to go in there and set up the camera, and that way, you know, I would be able to record without having to worry about things. And I got in there, and I was in kind of like the back third, which is what I want. I want to be able to properly frame the stage and not be in the middle in case if they're going to be using the projector, which they didn't, but, you know, better to be safe than sorry. It was a good tight angle, and I have a wonderful optical zoom on this camera, so it's going to come out nice and clear for when it goes up for your viewing pleasure later on. And Craig and Bolin came in, got their cheers, their highs and hellos, and before they even got started, they wanted to know where this kid named Jason was. And he was one of the guys that was being a very super supportive fan and sending them artwork and all that stuff. And he was in like the Rooster Teeth escape room or something like that. So they actually had a couple of Guardians go ahead, drag him out of the panel just so they could bring him in so he could sit on stage and be with them for a second. It was pretty funny. You know, get the chanting, Jason, Jason, Jason. So, you know, that was cool. They did that. And then before they moved any further than that, they stopped and gave Shelby her props. That she had been working so hard all this weekend to make sure that everything for the attackers was going as smoothly as humanly possible. And, You know, it's one thing to say thank you in a private conversation, but it's another to go ahead and say thank you in a public forum where everybody can hear it. So that was made my heart feel happy for her, because she is one of my closest friends, and when she volunteers, she does it because she wants to, and because she believes in the event itself and the people that are behind it that make the things go, and she's one of the people that helps make it happen. So I know she has a very unique history working with Craig and everyone else, and you know, it doesn't stop her from doing what needs to be done, and she does it with such ruthless execution. You know, she's paid her dues. When it's her time, it's going to be glorious. So the panel went on, and you know, a lot of questions about, like, when are you going to start doing scripted content again? You know, and then they brought up the whole situation with the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire video, how they only made $53 off of it and stuff like that. So, you know, it said we'll work towards that someday. You know, talking about, like, all the future plans for the channel, and you know, like maybe even doing a stream like once a month where they just hang out and talk with people. And you know, they talked about when they hit the next stretch goal for YouTube sponsors, and they talked about, you know, the slumber party that they did and stuff like that. You know, a very candid conversation about all the risks that they are taking, and that nothing is guaranteed, and the very real reality that they have to go and find a new office. The version 3 HQ for Screw Attack, as the lease has been paid for through like October from Rooster Teeth, you know, once that's gone, that's gone. And while they have the whole office and the bullpen to themselves, now that the Screw Attack people have all moved to Austin, you know, they've got to find a new place to hang their home. So whether it's going to be the kitchen table at Craig's house, or if you know that reference, you know, let me know in the comments. Oh, screw it. It's that side scroller started out in Craig's mother's kitchen table, him and Tom, back in the day. So yeah, never mind. If you got that reference, legitimately let me know in the comments, because that always amuses me when people get little bits of obscure lore like that. So it's very interesting to see what the next chapter of Game Attack is going to be, because there's so much uncertainty, and they took an enormous risk doing what they are doing. If this was back in 2012, I think they would have been okay. But nothing is guaranteed, and it took them, oh man, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, like 9 months to hit 100,000 subscribers, and they hit 10,000 within like the first day. You know, that's a while. You know, they need explosive growth. They need to hit like 500,000 in like 3 months, you know, and meaningful subscribers. You know, they need to have people that are actually going to watch their stuff, you know, Pissbed, that acronym, and actually like partake and enjoy all of that stuff, and do it in a way that's actually going to allow them to put food on the table and keep the lights on. So yeah, interesting times. And another person threw out a question to lighten the mood and get away from, I wouldn't necessarily call it doom and gloom, but like the harsh reality of the video entertainment business. Another guy asked about Craig's brother, Brad, saying in older Screw Attack videos, Brad was a pretty big staple of that stuff. Would he be doing any of that kind of stuff with Game Attack? And it turned into discussion about Brad's band, 5 Times August, and there was this one guy that for whatever freaking reason thought that name was hilarious, and Craig got off the stage, went around the room, found the guy, sat down next to him, and wanted him to, ask, why is this so funny to you? And he said, I don't know. It's just funny. It's 5 times August. And he said, well, what do you think it's called that? It's like, is it his birthday is the 5th of August? Bingo. Well, when were you born? January 5th. Oh, 5 times January. So that was pretty funny. So we the panel wrapped up, and we all as I was leaving, I heard from the stage, Thomas Harvey, and lo and behold, Beard was there. Mr. Brian Baker. Warmed my heart to no end to see that man again. I knew he was here. I just didn't get a chance to see him, and I'm glad that it worked out that we finally did, because Brian has the biggest heart and was one of the nicest people you will ever meet in your entire life. He has taken a position to be with the AV content producing side of Rooster Teeth, and he is an Austin native, so he has had this opportunity to move back home and be a part of the production team at Rooster Teeth. And in a G1 interview that has not aired as of this broadcast, what day is this? July the 10th. So the interview has not aired yet, but there was an interview that was recorded, and in it he was talking about the comparison that I made when I've had the opportunity to visit the HQ twice, and the toys, and by that I mean video AV equipment, the TriCaster, all that fun stuff. The stuff that they had at the office fascinated and excited me, and I wanted to learn how to use it. He said when he goes to Austin to the Rooster Teeth HQ, it's like me on roids, because the stuff that they have is so much more advanced than what they have. It's just like, now he gets to work with that stuff on a daily basis. That's wicked awesome. And it was wicked awesome to see Bry Guy in the flesh one more time. Hopefully it's not the last time, but I'm just very glad that I got to see him. He was like he passed or something. Jesus Christ, Tom. It's 1 a.m. I'm very tired. He was a huge proponent of what we are doing at G1 Game Days. He was a wonderful community manager, and like I said, he has a big, big heart. Believes in all of this stuff, and he gave it his all, and he was never one to go diving after the spotlight. He was the guy that wanted to make the things work, and god damn it, he did. So, Brian, I love you. You are an incredible person, and I wish you all the best in your career at Rooster Teeth. You're going to do gangbusters, and it was wonderful to see you again. Warm my heart and lift my spirit to hear that. Here's someone with a familiar voice shouting from the stage my name, and I'm just a little guy in the sea of the internet, and somehow you remember me. Thank you. I know I've left my mark on Screw Attack in a way that it's enough to have me committed to memory in some small way, and that just makes me happy. And thank you for everything that you've done for the community, because you are irreplaceable. So all the best to you. So it was at that very real moment that we had all started to realize that with Game Attack being the last panel of the day, that the Texas Shindig was officially over. The ACC closes at 6 o'clock, and they were quite sternly ushering everyone out of the ACC outside, and ran into Sam, caught up with him for a hot second. Always fantastic to see him, and Sam is just as cool as the other side of the pillow, completely unflappable. Just wanted to make sure that we were all having a good time. Caught up with Bolin, great to see him. gave him some major kudos for his win at Mario Party, and in the face of insurmountable odds, the People's Champ reigns supreme. Gave big hug and hello to Craig. Ran into John Francis McCullough one more time. That was cool. Oh man, almost completely forgot. During the panel, someone asked Bolin why he's gone vegan, and it was for health reasons, but the reasons that he listed were like genuine health concerns. It turns out his family's had a series of health issues, and he just wanted to take all the guesswork out of it and just go vegan and just like try to minimize his risks. And I'm like, you know what? I mean, some people just go on a health trip. I mean, like a trip, like a kick, and just say, I'm just gonna go vegan. Yeah, it's like, no, like he's like worried about like heart disease and cancer and all that fun stuff, and it's just like, wow, okay, that's like a reason that I never would have thought. Okay, I can dig that now. And the one thing that he was very vocal about is don't be pretentious about being a vegan. And then he had one of his friends who was also vegan. He kind of looks like Cesaro from WWE now that I think of it. But they had the whole like take off your shirt and compare physiques, and I'm like, I didn't need to see that, but the audience loved it, thought it was hilarious. Then you had Bolin, who's in way better shape than me, and then they had his friend who is completely ripped. Oh yeah, that also reminds me that they also had the origin of how can you breathe, and it was this actually was a part of last night. I forgot to put that in the vlog, but there's the t-shirt reads how can you breathe, but the way Bolin said is how can you breathe. It turns out it's from an adult film where a lady is straddling a dude's face and he's being very good at his job, but she is completely smothering him. And then she asks him, how can you breathe? And this is from, Bolin saying that all of his taglines are coming from his childhood. He says in air quotes like he's 18. And I'm like, you know what? You probably saw that when you were way younger, but I don't really care. It was still hilarious. We actually found the actual scene of it, and we all had it playing. It's called Soldier Learns a Lesson. No, I'm sorry, Spy Learns a Lesson. And the audio of the line in question can be heard at 10 minutes and 21 seconds in case if you actually want to go check out the film yourself. So that way you don't have to go jumping around. But it's pretty funny to hear it spoken out loud. So there was that, and that was pretty funny, cool too. So. Anyways, panel was over outside, goodbyes and everything, and got a hot text from Gerardo. He wanted to get one last group photo before we all split up, because he lives in Austin now, but all he has to do is catch the train and he's good. But everybody else was going Splitsville. Everybody has their own plans for the rest of the evening. So that we got our group photo, and like I said, Gerardo's like my internet brother. So it meant a lot to me to see him and see him grow as a person and see his career with Screw Attack grow. He's living the dream. Took a huge risk moving from Colombia to here. He really has paid his dues, and now he's really, really doing the job for real. So that was I love you, man. You're a good dude. You're a real good dude. You're my internet brother, and hopefully I will be able to see you again in the very near future. I don't want it to be just a once a year thing. And it's good to see you on Twitter, and it's even more fun just to hear your voice on G1 Game Days when we play Killer Instinct. But hopefully I don't want it to be just once a year when I can hang out with you, brother man. It would be, if you could come to MagFest, that'd be just awesome. So it was getting very close to dinner, and I, like I said, trying to be thrifty, trying to only like eat once a day and snack off all the other foods that I have. But, it wasn't meant to be. Everybody wanted to go get dinner, and they wanted to go to the corner restaurant. It's literally called The Corner, and it's on the corner of the Marriott. This was the restaurant that we had dinner at last year on the last day of SGC. And the reason why I remember that place so well is because they had pulled pork tacos, which were delightful. And they also had, as a side, macaroni and cheese, but with smoked Gouda as the sauce. And the reason why this place sticks on my mind was I had ordered that, and so did Liz, but they were out of it. Not the tacos, but the mac and cheese. And Liz was so off-put by that she refused to order anything else and just had water. Well, this time, thank goodness, they had it, so I was able to get it. And I had it, and I had ribs. But for whatever flippin' reason, and the place was not that busy for a Sunday, it took forever for us to get our orders placed, get the bill, and eat our food. And, I don't like to tip poorly, but I really put in the most minimum on there because holy damn, it should have not have taken a half an hour just to get the check. I mean, I'm not one to skip out on a bill, but, it was getting on towards 9 o'clock at this point, and it was just ridiculous. So it was around that time that Shelby had come by to say her goodbyes. She had already gathered all our stuff in the room and brought it out to the curb, and we were seated outside on the corner restaurant. Not really a patio area, but they had street seating with tables, and she pulled up alongside and parked out there and called her Uber taxi to come on over and pick her up. And I'm going to see her tomorrow, but, it's never easy to say goodbye to someone that you really care about. And, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, man. And it's really like, I know I'm going to see her tomorrow, but, like, it's almost tear-inducing to me because I don't like saying goodbye to important people like her, man. It's tough. It's just tough. So, So she went ahead and got her stuff and was loaded in the cab and said goodbye to everybody at the table, and it was time to go. And then I get a hot call from her saying that she forgot her keys. Shit. So she had forgotten her car keys in the dresser drawer of the hotel room. So I had to go ahead and go up and get them. Now, the thing about this is I had been trying to keep under wraps that I've even had a car parked here in the hotel in order to try to minimize the paying for parking. And in doing so, leaving kind of exposes me to say that I'd be here for at least one day. So I was prepared to pay for parking, but I was trying to avoid paying for parking, or at most minimum trying to only pay for one day. Now that I've been exposed, I don't know what it was. Fortunately, she wasn't very far away. It was only like 6 miles up the road. Had to get out of Austin City proper and get on their version of Route 1. Like I said, it wasn't very far, and she was just camped out in front of her car, which isn't parked in front of a mutual friend of ours, Nathan, in front of his house, and she was looking quite distraught. And even though this is, in the grand scheme of things, something very minor, I don't like seeing her upset. Vacations are supposed to be a time of fun and not of stress, so was able to get her keys and, try to, make her smile a little bit. But she's so very dear to me, so I didn't mind making the drive out there. It is what you do for friends. So hopefully, Shelby dear, you got back home in a reasonable amount of time, and you hopefully got into bed before midnight, because I know you have work in the morning, and that sucks. I hope that your day goes speedily and you don't have to process a whole lot of stuff for work, because that sucks. That really sucks. So by that time, it was ready to go ahead and get back to the hotel, but I was so fucking pissed off at the whole situation, because we had plans to go watch the WWE pay-per-view Great Balls of Fire, and having to go deliver her keys kind of put a wrench in that, but it wasn't getting to her that was the time-consuming part. It was leaving the hotel, and that's what pissed me off. You know, it would have been at most 15 minutes round trip to go ahead and leave and deliver her keys and come back. Minor inconvenience in the grand scheme of things, but I was having such a hard time trying to leave the hotel. You know, flash my room card, doesn't work. Page the thing, say this is 617, I'm trying to leave, can you open the gate? Okay, Mr. Harvey, we'll send someone down to do that for you. Waiting for like 15 goddamn minutes, buzzing the thing. Eventually the gate finally goes up. Don't know what the problem was. So went out there, came back, and I was like, you know what? If I'm really going to put myself through all this nonsense, I'm going to get myself some voodoo donuts. And this is a thing that I'd heard about, and I wanted to see for myself. They are gourmet donuts that are handmade, and they are, you know, they have your traditional, you know, donuts. You got the powder, the cake, the cream-filled icing, cake. The cake donuts are wonderful. Crullers and fritters and all that fun stuff. And then they've got crazy donuts. You know, donuts that have confectionery items on them like cereal, like Rice Krispie Treats, Captain Crunch, Fruity Pebbles, things of that nature on there. And then they have candy donuts like M&Ms and Reese's Pieces and, you know, freaking bits of Oreo with a peanut butter drizzle on them. These things are highly elaborate, totally diabetic inducing. Really don't care about my diet at this point. But I also know I'm not going to be the only one eating these donuts too. You know, I'm going to be splitting these up with the people back in the room. So I go ahead and, in probably not the best of mindset, because like I said, I was very upset at the situation of trying to leave the hotel and get back in. Getting back in's easy. It was leaving was the hard part, which is super annoying. Just let me go. God damn it. So I go ahead and it's a couple blocks up the street. I'd say maybe 4 or 5. And the blocks in Austin aren't terribly big, but the thing is, it's at night and there are homeless people, and you don't know what's going to happen. I don't feel like I was ever in any real, actual danger, but it's the thing of walking past areas in low light and having, you know, those guys, you don't know how desperate they are or how long they've been out on the street. You know, it's you just don't know, and you really shouldn't be taking those kinds of risks. But I did it because I'm fucking stupid. But it's on 6th Street, which could not be any more illuminated. I don't know a lot about Austin, but apparently that's where everything is. There's a lot of bars and a lot of restaurants and a lot of everything going on 6th Street. So that was where I found Voodoo Donuts. And the line was huge, and it was very, very hot inside. I'm talking about to the point where you're going to sweat just from standing in line because it is so very warm. I actually think it was warmer inside there than it was the actual temperature of Austin that day. That's kind of crazy to say. But I had, you know, never been there, and I didn't bother to look up their menu online, which probably would have been a smarter thing to do. But I went up to the front of the line just so I could look over the counter and see what the menu was. And they had a regular dozen donuts for $12, which is very reasonable. And then they had a voodoo dozen, which they said is a mix of classic and a mix of crazy. Well, let's go with that. So I go ahead and I'm about to go back to the end of the line to get in line, and then I hear a Wild Tom appears. And I look to my right. It's goddamn John Bruinuge, who is, Danger Boy John on Twitter. Dear friend of mine, and old school G1s will know Danger Boy John from Rockumentary, and he also played a character on Name Tags. He was Paul, the disgruntled customer. So, John and I are very good friends, and it was just the darndest thing. This was not planned. It was just pure happenstance. He happened to be there. He was in town for the Texas Shindig, make no mistake, but I didn't know he was going to be at Voodoo Donuts at 10:30 at night. How about that? What crazy timing. So we caught up a little bit, and we have plans to go to Game Over Video Games tomorrow before I drive back up to Dallas and then grab lunch. And then, he's in town till Tuesday. I'm in town till Wednesday. So it was just, get one last in, because I really only get to see him once a year as well. And that's, that's not always good. I get to talk to him on Twitter whenever I want, and I get to text him whenever I need to. But, getting that all-important FaceTime is very important. So that was very cool. That was very cool. It really made me glad that I made the trip out there. So, because even if I got out there and I didn't get donuts, I could definitely say I ran into Jono at the most odd hour of the day and had a good laugh over that. So walked back to the hotel with donuts in hand, and they were watching some crazy HBO show with some metal guy. He looked like a reject from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I don't even know what it was, but Buckethead or something like that on HBO, and it just made me think of the song Buckethead by Jordan, or I'm sorry, the song is called Jordan, and then it's by the band Buckethead. Sorry, whatever. And then it was time to go ahead and throw on the WWE pay-per-view. Didn't get a chance to watch the Cruiserweight match, which was the pre-show. I'll never understand why they separate the pre-show from the main pay-per-view. That just seems dumb to me. All I know is that Neville retained. I do want to see the match at some point, because Neville's been Cruiserweight champ since like flipping October or something like that. So it must have been a really good match for him to hang on to the strap that long. And then first match was oh Jesus, what was it? Oh yeah, Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins, and Wyatt won. Nasty Sister Abigail. A lot of vertical suplexes. More than I don't get to watch wrestling a lot, but I definitely saw Bray Wyatt doing a lot more power moves than I had expected, which is totally fine. Then there was the Iron Man match between Sheamus and Cesaro, and the Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. And holy shit, as a heel tag team, Sheamus and Cesaro are a nasty duo, and they fooled me. I didn't see the tag, and Jeff goes to do the Swanton Bomb on Sheamus, and he nails it. But then Cesaro comes in out of nowhere and pins him after he hits the ground, because he was the legal man. I didn't see that happen, so that's crazy. But that was I don't know where they're going with this. I think it was too early to make the Hardys drop the belts to anybody after just coming back at WrestleMania. But, that's whatever. It is what it is. It's, it's all predetermined anyway. But, it just doesn't make any sense to me why they're doing that. But it was still a really good Iron Man match. I just, would have preferred that the Hardys won after coming up from a deficit in such a big way. And then the follow-up match to that was Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks, and Sasha won by countout. And that really snuck up on me, because I really didn't expect that they would actually let it go to a countout. And of course, WWE, like I said, it's all scripted, but they try to adhere to their rules. A title can only change hands by pinfall or submission. So when it comes to that, it's champion's advantage. Champion can get counted out of the ring to 10 and still retain the belt. Well, that's exactly what happened. And boy, oh boy, I was just making the joke, go attack her on the ramp, go attack her before she leaves, and that's what she did. It was pretty funny, you know, and looks like they were going to do a spot on the announcer table, and they didn't. I was desperately cheering, please don't break, because I wanted to have a table spot on Botchamania where the table didn't break, but it didn't happen. They didn't even get to use the table. They just jumped off the side. There's like a 5-foot drop between where the entrance ramp is and where the commentator table is, and then they just dropped down there and just landed on each other. So that's all we really saw. At this point, it was getting close to midnight, and while checkout isn't until 11 a.m., I still needed to record this vlog while it was still fresh in my mind, and get some goddamn sleep, because I do have to get everything packed out in the car, and I do have to, drive back up to Dallas tomorrow. So, that's a thing I got to do, and hang out with Shelby while I still can. I don't want to be completely drained around her. I'm almost 10 years older than her, and I don't want to act like I am. I want to be as young and as fresh-faced as I possibly can. Because, like I said, I if I'm lucky, I get to see her twice a year. This and MagFest. And I need more time to process what I've done here this weekend. It's been a mixed bag. But I'll probably have my thoughts more together when I check in with you guys tomorrow. But anyways, that will do it for that. The Texas Shindig's officially in the bag. Almost everybody that I did recognize is probably already checked out of the hotel, and everybody else that I know is leaving tomorrow. So, goddamn, Lexi's leaving at 2 in the morning because her flight's at 6. And she has to catch a super shuttle to be there by by 4. So, just it's a little weird. So, anyway, that will do it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll check in tomorrow for another TexaVlog and see how everything was going for Monday. So, this is for Sunday. See y'all tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Ciao, ciao.